Hi, in this video I'm going to talk about how to stop being a control freak with your internet marketing, or at least reduce being a control freak. We're used to being in control, or at least thinking that we are, but it can be counterproductive in internet marketing because so many things are just outside our control. You can do everything in quote marks right on your website, but whether or not it shows up near the top of the search results depends on a lot of factors, most of which you have zero influence over. For instance, if you're in a competitive niche, chances are that all your competitors will be doing everything right on their sites as well. They'll be doing SEO for page titles and images and content. They'll have lots of unique content, and they'll have mostly good quality backlinks, or in some industries, link-laundered backlinks. The kind of dodgy side of internet marketing that most people prefer not to talk about. You can search for link laundering if you really want to, just don't rely on it because it's dodgy. And it then comes down to nuances in the search engine algorithms as to where you show up. And those can include, and these are by no means all the 200 and odd factors that Google say they take account of, they can include the age of your site, where your site's hosted. If you're targeting a local area, that can be an extra trust signal. For instance, I'm in the UK, and if I was targeting a UK business, UK hosting apparently helps a little bit, not much, but a bit. The company you keep, if you're on a shared server with lots of spammy sites, that can be guilt by association. The typical benchmark on that is if it's stupidly cheap, spammers will target it because that's what they use. If you're on the regular, roughly $10 a month stuff, you're probably okay. What the searcher has previously searched for and clicked on, because Google, even if you're trying to stay anonymous, and Bing and the others will all keep track of what you do, and they'll take note of it. Whether the search is being made on a desktop computer like I use, or a phone or a tablet, and therefore whether the algorithm thinks correctly or otherwise that your location affects the search, and you'll have a different search history on your phone versus your regular desktop PC, and probably in your tablet as well. And if your kids use it or a friend uses it, you'll have a different search history again. That all affects, and that and many other factors are pretty much outside your control, either partially or totally, because it depends on you. Obviously, what you searched for, that was in your control at the time, but you can't go back and unsearch for it. You can delete your history, you can tell Google to ignore it, and it might respect your wishes, it might not. But it also means you can't just go off and check where you show in the search results on your own machine, or even a different machine or device in the same building, because different factors just come into play. Yet lots of people spend their time and sometimes money checking those kind of things, and they're completely out of your control. In the early days, back in the 1996, something like that, you probably could have affected because everyone got the same results. But this decade definitely, this century almost certainly, it's not been the case. And the web is moving more and more in that direction. It's moving more and more personalized. Whilst it can be kind of reassuring to run, they really don't usually reveal anything you can actually influence. Okay, you could run a few checks on your competitors to figure out at least some of what they're doing to beat you in at least some of the search results. And that can be useful, mostly in competitive niches where you need to do at least everything in your power to show in the results, and then still cross your fingers and maybe even do a quick sacrifice of a chicken or something like that to a few gods. You never know. So many factors. But it could equally mean that you've chosen a niche that's just too competitive for where you and your site are at the moment, because most overnight successes take a long time to happen. Wikipedia started in 2001 but didn't make it to the top 10 websites until 2007. And whilst it can often seem it's always in the search results, changes in Google's algorithm have contributed to a big drop in page views for Wikipedia. You'll probably notice that a lot of easily explainable questions have a box at the top of the search results with the answer, and whether that answer is correct is another matter. For instance, I did a search for how old Wikipedia is, and it doesn't give the correct age. It's actually chosen January the 10th, so it thinks 10 years old, rather than working out 2001's a year and therefore taking that from the current year. But you can click through to the right page, but that kind of result often is correct. Do one for a 2-minute timer, and you get a 2-minute timer. Click start, click reset, whatever. Then you can change the time, even change to a stopwatch, all in the search results. And that's Google's aim. They want you to stay on their site for longer, and that's one of their ways they can do it. Unless you work high up in Google, that's completely out of your control. And if Google find that it's not helping user experience and therefore their ad revenues, it'll change again, and they won't consult you about the change. You just can't control what happens. It will just happen when the search engines think the time is right. So instead of being a control freak for things you can't control, concentrate on the things you can control or at least influence. Most of the time that means the content on your own site or on your own page or channel on sites like YouTube and Facebook. Unless you fall foul of an algorithm, that works pretty well. Personally, despite this video not being on my own site, I still prefer to keep most of my content on my own site. Because the whims of computer algorithms are far too unpredictable to completely rely on outside sites, and too many sites have vanished or changed the rules or changed direction for me to think otherwise. Yeah, change is necessary. Some sites grandfather in existing content, they keep it there. For instance, Easy Articles has done that. My early articles don't meet their latest standards. They're about 250 words and pretty keyword dense. But they're on the site unless I want to edit any of them, in which case they need to meet the latest word count, latest keyword density and auto-bio policies. It's a good compromise in my view, except it's a pain in the neck when you want to change the link in the auto-bio, because it means you can't unless you go back and change the article from 250 words to 400 or 500 and etc. But in contrast, when Hub Pages bought out Squidoo, they operated a honeymoon period, so the transferred sites were okay for a while, and then after the honeymoon finished, they applied their own rules to the pages that had been transferred. For me, and I suspect a lot of other Squidoo authors, that meant the pages got de-indexed or otherwise removed. And that happened with no input from me or anyone else affected. It was just a byproduct of different ways of thinking about how the sites should operate. And was pretty much, as soon as the sale was agreed, it was bound to be a culture clash between the relatively laissez-faire, almost anything allowed attitude of Squidoo and a much more controlling outlook at Hub Pages. Good, bad, don't know, can't affect, next. And other sites I've used have closed their doors completely. A document sharing site did, usually with a bit of notice so the content can be moved. And that happens a lot because sites are created first, monetized second. When the money doesn't arrive fast enough, or at all, or when the site doesn't take off as expected, the burn rate's too much, things change or the site closes. Closure's unlikely to happen on really big sites, but they're still not immune to changing trends. For instance, MySpace used to be the dominant social networking site, but it's now a shadow of its former self. Google Plus would love to take over social networking. They've not found a way yet, despite several attempts, and Hangouts, their sort of webcam type, webinar type service, has been merged with YouTube. So things change. And they're all things you can't hope to control, so yeah, stop trying to control them. Get back to concentrating on what you can control, or at least influence. Concentrate on the trends that are happening. Longer content generally outperforms shorter content, and that's unlikely to change, apart from longer content will get even longer. Spammy links are more dangerous than ever, so stop looking for shortcuts. Don't go for those 3 million links in 30 seconds from Fiverr or whatever it happens to be. Build your site for the long term. Videos, they're popular, and that's, I think, unlikely to change. Okay, TV has changed into online video, but it's still videos, moving pictures. And adverts are blending in, and sponsored content is getting a lot more difficult to spot. It's really difficult to spot on some blogs, and I don't think that's going to change either. Then work out how you can use those to your advantage. Longer content, write more. It really is that basic. Videos, pick a style and go with it. Could be a slideshow like this one, could be a talking head, could be anything. And much like longer written content, longer videos seem to be preferred. Paid reviews or free samples seem to follow successful bloggers, but you need to build up a following, and that takes time and patience and, to an extent, luck. Social media fits with our modern short attention span, and used wisely it can send traffic and gain followers. I was reading just recently someone just using hashtags basically to increase their traffic. It's basics again. Do your best though to avoid the latest shiny pennies that marketers would love you to purchase, and that could mean unsubscribing from some of the lists you're on. If they're always trying to sell you this week's must-have replacement, then those are a good place to click the unsubscribe link. Chances are that new autoresponder or membership or webinar plugin they're pushing pays a nice commission, but may not be supported as well as the commission is, or may not be supported at all. That's happened a lot. Especially the case if you're going to be using something on an ongoing basis. It costs money to run an autoresponder or a webinar service or even a membership plugin. It costs money to keep software updated and still working. Using LibreOffice, and this is up to version 5 point something at the moment, so it's a lot of updates. Firefox version seems to be millions, but they seem to, no comment. So a one-time payment might seem attractive and might seem to put you in control, especially of your wallet, but it won't necessarily help you in the long run. So take control of your inbox. Instead of pressing delete every time you get an unwanted message, if it happens too often for that particular person, take the time to permanently remove it by clicking unsubscribe. You probably won't hurt anyone's feelings. They may not even get told you're no longer a subscriber, and even if they do, it may not be something to pay attention to. But you'll take a bit of control back over the time you spend in your inbox, and that's valuable time. Do the same on social media. If there are tweets or posts on your feed you always scroll past, get rid of them. May only save a few seconds here and there, but those mount up. And take a bit of time to chill out a bit more, because lots of things happen, and most of them we really can't control. If you've ever tried to make it sunny or stop the vehicles using your road, you'll know that. Then concentrate on the things you can control, or at least influence. You'll become more productive and probably happier because you're not fretting over all those other things. And if you'd like more help with your internet marketing, click the link below this video and join my list. I promise I won't bombard you with emails about all the latest must-have stuff that you probably don't need. Instead, you'll get useful information on a pretty much daily basis, and you can either read them or delete them or unsubscribe. But until you try it, you won't know whether you like and get on with my style or not. Hopefully, if you've watched this far, you do. So click that link now. And thanks for watching.